Hey everybody, Matty here with Altcoin Buzz. Happy Sunday. Hope you're having a great weekend. Right now, I want to circle back to what we discussed yesterday, that battle for 60K. It seems like the bears have temporarily won. Of course, the war is far from over, but we do find ourselves below 60K. I'm talking about Bitcoin, of course, at the time of this recording. However, the flip side of that is that we're above $2.1 trillion in market cap, total crypto market cap. And as you can see right now, the market is slightly up versus yesterday, despite the fact that Bitcoin is down below, slightly below, but still below 60K. I want to talk at a mass level today about really the macro perspective. It's a bit of a slow news day, so I thought, why not record a segment about my bullishness, my enthusiasm for Bitcoin, and also for Ethereum. And this is a supply side argument. When I turn on my phone, I look at, Yahoo Finance and kind of articles that are aimed for the layperson. So I see stuff like this: Bitcoin above $60,000. Again, this from yesterday, on talk of reduced supply. This is a very top level kind of thing, but the average person doesn't understand they don't understand mining operations or the supply side of Bitcoin. The skeptics feel that it's a speculative asset and they don't have an appreciation for the mechanics behind Bitcoin per se. So we're going to take a look at all that. I want to take a look at some of the big winners here in these last 24 hours or so. We have a couple that are worth celebrating. Taking a look here in the top 100, we have Wink, we have Hollow, Dogecoin up 13.4% on the day. Not too bad. We'll take a look at Dogecoin in just a second. One of Elon Musk's favorite. He's in the news today. Dent is up. Hedera Hashgraph is up. Zcash. Elrond is up. Litecoin is up, actually. Litecoin's been performing pretty well, even in light of this recent pullback. I want to take a look at Elrond, actually, because it's just achieved a new all-time high. So that's something that we're obviously celebrating. We're happy about, up 8.9% on the day. And officially, from just a few hours ago, earlier this morning on this Sunday, it looks like we hit an all-time high of $242.32. So kudos to all the EGLD holders out there. So guys, stay with us in this video. We're going to take a top level look at the supply of Bitcoin, the supply of Ethereum, what the whales are doing, what the trajectory is, extrapolating all of this positivity. Where is that going to leave us later this year, next year, a few years from now? And we'll do some pontification. Guys, if you like this kind of content, Bitcoin, blockchain, cryptocurrency, and altcoins, then be sure to like and subscribe to Altcoin Buzz. So I'm trying to dip my toes here into some of the more technical features of OBS. I've set up this ticker here, as you can see, to my left. Let me know if you guys think that's valuable. There's all kinds of little things that I'm playing with, and I'll send out the request once again, a friendly request, if you have constructive criticism, or if you're familiar with OBS, which is the system I'm using now. If you have proficiency in OBS, I'd be happy to hear your hacks and your tips and your your tips, whatever you recommend, because I'm still really in my first week of this, trying to make it work. And so far I'm getting a feel for it, but there's always room for improvement, of course. Let me know what you guys think about that ticker. With that being said, let's take a look at Dogecoin here. Still off of its all-time high from about 2 months ago, but up 13.4% on the day. I saw this meme. I thought it was pretty funny for all the Office fans out there. Maybe you are, maybe you're not. I'm a pretty big Office fan. There are certain episodes that I can sit down and watch and like almost narrate from memory. Not word for word, but certainly all like the major lines at least. So I appreciated this one. When we talk about Dogecoin, it kind of reminds me of memes. It kind of reminds me of NFTs, actually. If you haven't checked out Robert's most recent video about Uniqly, they're doing some pretty good work. They're bridging the world of physical and digital NFTs, kind of making both reality. So the digital, turning that into physical, and actually vice versa as well. Check out that video. There should be a card popping up right about now. I'll link to it as well in the description below. It reminds me of Cryptopunks, actually. And look, there's a side of NFTs that I like. There's a side of NFTs that I don't like. You've probably seen some of these. They've been kind of exploding on my feed once again on Twitter. For whatever reason, I'm just seeing a lot of CryptoPunk activity. Look, the idea is pretty cool. The fact that there are 10,000 of them and that they're all unique. All right, it's a use case for the Ethereum blockchain. We're going to be discussing the Ethereum blockchain a little bit later on in this video. This is kind of, for the most part, a summation of how I feel about CryptoPunks and some of the NFTs at that level. So this is from a few years ago. Somebody, and this to me, by the way, summarizes like all of modern art and abstract, like high level art. Some guy forgot his glasses at some exhibition hall in a museum, and slowly people started flocking around. They thought that was in itself an exhibit. Because modern art has, in my opinion, just my personal opinion here, IMHO, modern art has no intrinsic, actual, objective value. It's just this psychology of the herd where people, accept other people's opinion and they're told what's beautiful, what to appreciate, what to admire. I think there's some exceptions, of course. I'm being a little bit hyperbolic and facetious here, but this glasses example is perfect to me. It always makes me chuckle. Okay, with that out of the way, let's talk about some serious stuff. I do want to talk about here the bull case for Ethereum. The trend now has been pretty stable for a while, and the fact of the matter is that Ethereum is right now on the whole experiencing a major outflow out of exchanges. It's becoming more and more scarce. In fact, going back here, let's skip Dogecoin for a second. Let's get an official number on Ethereum's latest all-time high. I know we crossed the 2100 mark. Not doing too bad right now, actually. Down ever so slightly, but 2149 on the day. Officially, Ethereum's all-time high here, according to CoinGecko, just about 2200 actually, $2,198. And we're going to see in just a second, there are many, many projections suggesting that Ethereum is really about to take off for all kinds of different reasons, but this supply side reason is one of the biggest. You guys are all intelligent, you members of the Altcoin Buzz Army, you understand supply side economics, supply and demand. When the supply for something that is a scarce resource decreases exponentially, the demand for it is going to increase exponentially, and as a result, the price will increase exponentially. This is the traditional, economics 101 supply side, supply demand equilibrium curve, right? This is the case right now. This is happening with Ethereum. Ether exchange reserves are falling quickly, with outflows hitting yearly highs and boosting market sentiment around Ethereum. In fact, it's more than just yearly highs. It's actually quite a bit more than that. Check this out. Ethereum supply now at a 28-month low. Prices could push higher soon. Now, none of this is financial advice. When I take a look at the armchair analysts on Twitter, I don't mean that condescendingly, by the way. There's just a lot of people with a lot of different analytical opinions on Twitter. I always take it with a grain of salt, but I think there's a lot of truth to it. So with that being said, we'll come back to this in just a second, but with that being said, let's take a look at Cactus here, the crypto cactus on Twitter. ETH USD, honestly, the only way is up from here, expecting this resistance level to be SR flipped in the next attempt. In other words, support and resistance will be flipped around. So we were knocking on the door of 2200 here. I think from a technical perspective, the charts are lining up in a pretty favorable way. That's one perspective. Another perspective here, Lil Moon Lambo. Ethereum will be above 2200 by Monday. Get ready. Not financial advice, not something that you should take to the bank necessarily, just one individual's opinion. I've kind of shared this before. I'm not a chart type of person. I'm not like a technical analyst when it comes to crypto. I'm extremely technical and analytical and quantitative, just from a personality perspective. But I feel that, personally speaking, I think that's a little bit overvalued in the world of crypto, because you can chart an asset till the cows come home. When there's good news, or bad news for that matter, but when there's news one way or the other, to the upside, to the downside, it changes everything. And I think there's a place for technical analysis kind of in a vacuum. In other words, if you have a totally antiseptic room in which there's no outside influence, theoretically I would agree that chart analysis works. However, outside of that, in the real world, with development updates, with hacks, with good news, with bad news, it just doesn't always necessarily line up as the charts would predict. That being said, I think the charts do paint a positive picture for Ethereum. And now I want to come back to what I displayed just a second ago here. We're on DeFiPulse.com. First of all, total value locked in US dollars, TVL now $51.87 billion. Look, I was joking earlier about the whole cyberpunk thing, CryptoPunk thing. I'm not a big fan of NFTs. I think they are overblown. I think the NFT hype right now is kind of cresting, and I think it'll soon start subsiding. That's my point of view. And I think it's going to start subsiding, and it's going to be transferring back into DeFi. We had a DeFi mini pump last year, like summer of 2020. For those of you that were in the space, You may remember a lot of exuberance, a lot of enthusiasm about all these great DeFi protocols. And I think they're going to come back with a vengeance. I think we kind of need to shift focus away. Not that I think we need to, but I think the market's focus will shift away from NFTs, non-fungible tokens, and kind of refocus, reprioritize DeFi, because that is ultimately the bigger institutional killer. And I ranted about HSBC yesterday, everything that they're doing wrong, some of the other legacy and institutional banks, all that they're doing wrong. And it's not just a question of morally, what, their shortfallings are. It's a question of the rewards, the yield, the passive income that you can get on some of these DeFi platforms. It's unbelievable. And so linking this back to Ethereum, if you're not a regular on this site, just take a look at all of these top projects right now. Compound, Maker, Uniswap, Aave, Curve Finance, SushiSwap, InstaDApp, Synthetics, Balancer, Bancor, Vesper, Badger, DAO, on and on and on. What do you notice about all of these? What is the chain on which all of these just top-notch platforms are based? The chain in every instance is Ethereum, 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 Ethereum. It's not to say that everything in the world of DeFi is Ethereum. In fact, I think if we scroll down the list, we can find a few exceptions. You got to go all the way down here to number 36, though. Lightning Network is on Bitcoin. My goodness, even as I was preparing this video, I didn't think there would be this many examples. I thought I'd be able to find a few exceptions. Let's go to decentralized exchanges here. Those are all on Ethereum. Derivatives are all on Ethereum. Payment platforms, again, with the exception of the Lightning Network, are all on Ethereum. Let's try assets here. Look, I guess the point is being made even a little bit better than I was planning. But the point is that if you're at all a fan of DeFi, if you would all feel that DeFi is about to make a comeback, then by default, you have to assume that Ethereum is going to make a comeback. We're sitting now, a little bit down versus where we were a minute ago, but 21.46. I think in just even maybe a few months, possibly a few weeks' time, this price is going to look shockingly low. Never financial advice, but I think Ethereum in this cycle has a much, much, much higher upside, and to the extent that we haven't even tapped into it yet. As positive as the outlook is right now when it comes to Ethereum, at least from my point of view, I think the same argument can be made for Bitcoin, because a lot of the same variables, a lot of the same factors are affecting Bitcoin right now, despite the fact that, we're kind of hitting and bouncing below that 60K right now, what happens to be resistance. I think things are going to change relatively soon. Documenting Bitcoin here, this from yesterday, the 10th of April. Bitcoin, get this, is now worth more than the 4 largest banks in the United States. Not individually, combined. So Bitcoin, at least at the time of this tweet, I think that's not quite accurate anymore, but it will be accurate again soon, don't worry. But Bitcoin, yesterday, the 10th of April, was worth more than JP Morgan, Bank of America, Citibank, and Wells Fargo combined at about $1.13 trillion, I think was the mark where it was worth more than the collective market cap of those 4 banks. Not too bad. Okay, well, that's just an anecdotal statistic. I hear kind of the skepticism. What does that mean? It's not suggesting anything one way or another. Here's the point that we're trying to make. At AltcoinBuzz.io on Twitter, make sure you're following. We tweeted this a little bit earlier. Very, very, very little Bitcoin supply is left. And by extension, this bull run is far from over. We talked about the supply almost crisis that the exchanges were facing in terms of Ethereum. Well, on Cointelegraph.com, Bitcoin on-chain data suggests no bull market top at 60K, selling activity declining. This is because Bitcoin's on-chain data reveals that speculators and long-term holders have been increasingly confident of higher prices as their selling activity has slowed significantly. The whales are moving around some of their Bitcoin, to be sure, but they are not selling it on exchanges. They are not divesting their Bitcoin assets. They're holding on to that. Movement of large sums of Bitcoin does not equate to selling of those assets in Bitcoin. Back to documenting Bitcoin here. The value of US dollars, US dollar, the USD, measured in Satoshis. What's amazing about this is that not only is the decline dramatic, if you take a look at the axis here, the y-axis, you'll note that it's also logarithmic scale. So as dramatic as this may look, this is a log scale. You wouldn't even be able to visually represent this unless it was logarithmic. So another kind of a tangent here, but just a cool visual I wanted to include, and another Feather in the cap of those arguing on the side of Bitcoin, in my opinion. The growth of the Bitcoin Lightning Network has also exploded this year, pretty importantly, and this should be pointed out. A thundering applause to the developers, innovators, and builders out there putting in the work. And therefore, does it come as any surprise? Is it any wonder that Bitcoin is slowly gaining this value, that it's now suddenly, seemingly, worth more than the United States' 4 largest banks? Not really. There's a lot happening behind the scenes. It never stops, right? It never stops working. It never stops being engineered to be the best. Canada's first Bitcoin ETF, Exchange Traded Fund, Purpose, now holds over $1 billion of coin in a record month of growth. Here's the thing. If you're looking at this model and you consider it to be a success, well, the US market is 27 times larger. Therefore, it stands to reason that with a little bit of, a catalyzing effort to get that ETF off the ground in the United States, well, as soon as it does go, become functional, then it would be 27 times larger than the Canadian equivalent, which has already made $1 billion in that first month. You're looking at a $27 billion US ETF in that first month of activity as soon as it gets off the ground, which I imagine is going to happen sooner rather than later. It is an inevitability any way you look at it. Bitcoin archive here. I was talking about that Bitcoin being moved around by the whales. $716 million in Bitcoin just moved from Coinbase to cold storage. Therefore, that is an anti-selling signal to the market. That's not Bitcoin that somebody's ready to sell, that somebody's ready to get rid of or to divest from an exchange, from Coinbase into cold storage. Another 11,900 Bitcoin off the market. We don't talk about all that often the numbers that go into mining and stuff, but you got to remember that there's only 900 or so Bitcoin that are mined every day. Therefore, every 24 hours, there are 900 Bitcoin that are mined, okay? Well, Grayscale is already accumulating more than that 900 on a daily basis. You have other institutional firms, all of the exchanges. You have the Michael Saylors of the world. So you have 900 that's created. You have many multiples of that are bought up, that are put into cold storage on a daily basis. And this trend is only one that's being exacerbated, that's accelerating as the days go by. So this argument that there's no Bitcoin left, there's not much left on the exchanges, it's being hoarded by the institutional heavyweights. I mean, this is a trend that's clearly moving in one direction. There's not ever going to be a time where there's going to be more of it to pass around, to buy, to do what you will with. It's disappearing. Plan B at 100 trillion USD here on Twitter. Bitcoin going for gold, i.e. the $10 trillion market cap. Look, we're already over 10% of the way there. I don't see why not. So here's my thesis to close things out. Again, bit of a slow news day. Just wanted to pontificate and share with you guys my thoughts on some of these issues. My thesis is that from an exchange perspective, things are looking pretty good, not only for Ethereum, but for Bitcoin as well. If you're feeling, maybe you got into this space and you're feeling a bit impatient, hold on, just relax, take a deep breath, wait a few weeks, wait a few months, whatever. Better to hodl in this instance. Not that that's financial advice, but I think things are going to look very, very good as long as we are patient, we have strong hands, and we don't act too rashly. We don't act too impetuously here, without kind of taking a deep, somber breath here and stepping back and appreciating the wider picture. That's my message today, guys. There's a bunch of other news that's very positive as well. Formula One, as we've been covering on altcoinbuzz.io, is increasingly gaining more and more cryptocurrency sponsors. So Formula One Racing is set to get its first ever fan token with the new collaboration between McLaren and Bitsy.com. This article by Daniel, you can check that out. You may remember as well that Phantom also just struck up a sponsorship with Formula One. Crypto.com has also its own partnership, its own marketing campaign with Formula One. This is the kind of thing that's just only getting started. As more and more people see those logos, more and more people see the banners and the publicity, I think it's going to accelerate as well. So check that out. I'll link to it in the description below. But that is about it for today, everybody. As always, do be sure you're following us on all the regular social media channels. Keep checking back into our website. It is altcoinbuzz.io for all the latest. Like, subscribe, share, hit the bell to receive notifications, guys, if you enjoyed today's video. Best of luck if you do choose to invest on this Sunday. Have a great tail end to your weekend. Stay safe, and as always, we do hope to see you again soon in our next video. Take care.